When you shift perspective on yourself, when you stop looking at yourself as a limited being, which is the perspective of the personality and kind of a materialistic perspective, which is obviously limited. You have a certain vision of the world, and limitation brings with it a sense of separation. If I shift perspective, because it's not all that is, the personality and the physicality are the tip of the iceberg, not even. It's the most superficial aspect of ourself, of our human experience and human selves. But if I'm willing to go deeper, looking at who I truly am and looking for my essence, usually it's a rather long and slow process. And it's not always easy to ask these existential questions. Who am I if I'm not this body, this physical body? Or if I'm not only this physical body? Who am I if I'm not my job, if I'm not all the things I identify myself with? Because if I stop identifying with the things, will I stop existing? I won't. I will keep living. So these things are not the things that these things are not essential. What's essential is invisible, and that's why it's so hard to discover it. Because to go visit your essence means to develop a more subtle sensitivity and perception, sense of perception, sense of self. What's visible is raw perception. It's quite obvious, but it's also quite empty. It's out there, but in essence, it lost a lot of essence. It lost a lot of I don't know. It's like the process of manifestation is losing a lot from a spiritual perspective. It's becoming very small anyway. So So if I dare to look beyond the tip of the iceberg, the personality and the physicality, both internally and externally, both this physical body and the physical world around me, I might eventually discover there is something underneath. And as I discover and travel deeper within, towards my center and towards my essence, I might discover that the less I perceive, the more I am. The more I am pure presence, the more I am pure consciousness. If I empty my perceptions, then I remain alone with my own presence. And there are ways, through meditation and other practices, to learn to become sensitive to this presence. Traveling from the more obvious towards the more subtle, maybe all the way to complete stillness. And at some point during this travel within, you might discover you might realize that you are not what you always thought you were. And that's where a shift is happening. It is a shift of perspective, because you stop believing to be this limited entity, this physical body and this personality. And you start seeing that you are more than that. Again, it's not that you're not a physical body, but a physical body is such a tiny part of you, of who you are. And the personality is such a tiny part of who you are. Then you're missing what really counts. So it's not about rejecting, it's just about opening up your perspective on who you are, looking and perceiving beyond the obvious, beyond what you know. All right, and so a shift of perspective of who you are will involve a shift of perception of the world around you as well. And that's where the magic happens. You shift paradigm, meaning you shift perspective from experiencing or from having an experience of being a limited entity in a limited world, bound by the physical laws, expanding into a sense of self that transcends this physical reality, and as you start experiencing yourself as a boundless being, and of course that involves a more spiritual perspective. Once you start realizing this, the whole game changes. And since the limitation is disappearing, the sense of separation disappears as well, and the magic happens. So it's not about your personality and the rest of the world, because when you get closer to your essence, you start becoming aware, and you start to perceive the forces that are the forces that bring you to life, the forces that are moving you and moving your being. What's moving you has nothing to do with the physical. The physical is an external manifestation of these forces. When I look at the body like this, the body becomes both guideline and a master, because the closer I want to get to know myself, the further I need to go in towards the invisible and the spiritual. But in order to rise towards spiritual dimensions, or to remember these spiritual dimensions, I need to understand, to work from the base, from the physical.